Yeah, so today we're doing some defensive stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can get started, and I'll talk you through what we're doing so far. Um, yeah, so what I decided to do was to do this room called Monday Monitor. So it's a Linux investigation using Waza, I think is how you say it. I don't know. Yeah, and kind of the scenario is you're working at a bank, you have Waza, Sysmon logs, you have an activity that occurred on April 29th, 2024 between 12 and 2000 hours, and we're supposed to be able to answer these questions here. So what you have is I've already set up everything. So we just logged into it. One issue that I did have, and we'll walk through that real quick, is we want to go to security events. Then we want to come over here to the left and click Monday Monitor, and then we can see all of our stuff. So one of the things I do like to start out with is I like to start from the beginning and then move forward. So let's start there, and we do want to open up our 50 rows. And let me go ahead and get chat back open. So one day I will get good at the streaming stuff, and we won't have hiccups. Till then, my apologies. Um, yeah, so the first question is, let's take a quick look at that, and then we'll search through here. So initial access was established using a downloaded file. What is the file name saved to the host? So this is the beginning of logs that were in the search, or these aren't logs, these are actual security alerts themselves. And so we have that the agent was started, so we know that's not it. I doubt this is it because it's probably just some basic stuff running on the system. So it looks like a DLL is running. It doesn't look particularly interesting to me. Like they use maybe Atomic Red Team to run this stuff, which is cool. I did see some stuff. These are all spawning Windows shells. I did see this one a second ago. Elevation service.exe. And we can see that Chrome, it's a Chrome, or it's at least it's under Chrome elevation service. So let's evidence of a new service was found. This may or may not be legitimate. So the problem right now, kind of where we're at, is we need to figure out what's normal, what's not, and which is the hardest part when you're dropped into a new environment. The other one, the elevation service, looks questionable. This looks questionable also. That may or may not be questionable. We have a lot of stuff running as an administrator, which isn't good. What's cool is they have these MITRE tags here, so that's kind of interesting for those of you familiar with MITRE. We have a file is dropped. So, spoiler, a lot of times you'll see something similar in environments. So that's not necessarily bad. We haven't seen anything yet that really says, hey, this is bad. This looks questionable. I don't know what that is. But what we can do is once we pinpoint something bad, we can work our way backwards and work our way backwards from it and figure out what it is. So LSAS dump. So this is obviously bad. So this is someone dumping LSAS. So if you don't know, LSAS is a process that has credentials inside of it. So anytime authentication is required or access is requested, it goes through LSAS to provide that access. This is Windows specifically. So we know this is bad just because of that. And we can see that the command was executed from command.exe. Let's see what AJ says. He said LOL. What a goober. All right, so we have something bad here, and what I like to do is, because I'm not familiar with this, we'll duplicate this tab, and maybe it'll keep up what we wanted. So I wanted specifically that alert to stay up, and it doesn't work that way. Yeah, in Splunk we can do that, but it isn't Splunk. So some things we can do right now to orient ourselves with this bad thing is we want to know what user is affected. So atomic user. So atomic is the domain, administrator is the user. So we know that user has been compromised because it's running these um, malicious commands. In environment, we would probably start isolating the system and then reach out and ask, hey, is this you? Just to be sure. I mean, maybe there's an administrator that would do that, but this is very uncommon activity for an administrator. One thing we do want to look at is this is a process. So for those of you who aren't aware, this is a sysmon. Let's see, what type of ID is it? Event ID 1, that's what I thought. So yeah, process create. So this is a process create. So with this, we can actually trace the different process IDs all the way back until we figure out what caused this. So we have this as a process ID, but what we want is the parent process ID. So it says the parent process is PowerShell. So let's trace this back and see if they were running any other commands with this process. So we have this open. I don't know how this works. So we can see. A lot of them have string query search up here. So I'm guessing it looked at our string to see what it was doing. And what we can do is just check to make sure this is the process ID. So 6988 is our process ID. And this should show up as either the PID or 6988. So this is our process. This is our user as well, which makes sense. So this is them starting up a shell. Parent process is execution bypass policy. So this allows them to run scripts locally. Okay, great. What we do want to do is back up further if we can. So this is the parent. So this is the process ID. So we want the parent process here, which is 2980. Wonder if we can mark these as something we're interested in at all. Because what we're interested in for sure is we need to find some malware, right? The question is, initial access was established using a downloaded file. What is the file name saved on the hub? So we still need to figure out what that is. So we're still in the business of chasing processes. And for those who've used this tool, there's probably a better way to do this, but that's okay. So I just reversed the time stamp back. So 14/21/41, and we have a possible Windows macro. And this looks like Mimikatz here, even though it's called Mimo Tech. This looks like Mimikatz. And I just say that it looks like they're using a pass the hash. So they pass the hash for this user, John Sterling. And 2980, so that is our hash, or not our hash, our process ID, I think. 2980. So this is the parent process. So what we want to find is where this process ID shows up, this parent process ID shows up as the process ID. And then we know that that is what we're going after. So let's bring this down. So we know at least at 14.21.41 we have issues. Interesting. So it's not even organizing. We say we're going down, but it's not going down. Interesting. This is 14.21. What do we have? 13. So 13. Okay. So it was not doing what I was expecting it to do, which is okay. Let's take a closer look here. I wonder if I can bring this up to the top as a column. Oh, okay. So we can actually utilize this pretty similar to Elastic. It probably is built on Elastic. That's really ugly. I don't like that. Can we get rid of that? I was hoping I could make these columns wider. Nope. Sure can't. How about that? We'll do it off. So let's, if we're sticking to process create, we could create filter so we could look at this a lot easier, which let's go ahead and do that. So let's find the parent command line. This is a good one. So let's do parent process ID first, parent command line, and then we want process ID, and then command line. This should help us at least look at sysmon ones quite a bit faster. Although we're not seeing all the stuff. This actually has it going off the page, so what the heck. All right, we'll figure out how to work within this stupid thing. It'd be great to have someone who's used this before and have them on the thing. So maybe we can do it here a little bit better. Okay, this looks a little bit better. This is 14. We want it the other way, going up. All right, so let's take a look at this. Looks a little bit different. This definitely looks like Elastic. So we have that PowerShell execution bypass was created, and this is process ID 2090. So that's what we were looking for, right? Where this was the process ID. Okay, so we know this is compromised, at least that process, but the issue is that it could have happened later. So let's take a peek at some of these other ones and see, like, this isn't necessarily malicious. This isn't necessarily malicious. We want something that says, hey, this is bad, is what we're looking for. Ampersand, error level. Not necessarily bad. This could be something, some noise, right? So one of the big things you have to figure out is what's noise and what are things we actually should be paying attention to. So we can actually remove all these if we don't care about them by just doing like that. And we can also do that with some of these other ones. And kind of the idea is that you're just filtering out stuff you really don't care about. It's not going to have any impact on you. So here's LSAS, right? Okay, so we know this is bad. What is this? 1339. Let's keep walking it back. Here's some atomic array team stuff, Mimi Cats. There's a nano dump. There's run an atomic array team. Who am I? Okay. Host name. So these are all enumeration techniques. So this is the first one that we're like, okay, maybe not so bad. 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 Okay. So let's do this. Let's narrow it down to this block. And we can say this is going to be our parent process here, process ID. So let's take a gander at the parent process of this. So let's take a look at this. We have PowerShell. Okay. Nothing necessarily interesting. Let's look at this parent process. So there's the parent process. Let's open it up. Maybe. So what does it say about them using atomic array team? Well, we have most of these, actually. We don't have this. We don't have this. We don't have a password set, data exfiltrated. So what I'm going to do is we'll have a little notebook up. So as we find stuff, we can document ourselves. So let's see. Let's look up. Let's play around with this and see if there is a better way to utilize this tool for what we need. We have rules. It's really only feeding us stuff on rules. We have 440 alert. But the question here is what initial access was established using a downloaded file? What is the file name saved on the host? So we can, I don't know. That's the question, right? So let's go. Just look up tasks. There's a specific sysmon log for scheduled tasks. This may or may not have it. Many events. There's 217 events. Oof. For the same amount. No, that's not helping. Maybe if we do it in quotes. Nothing that matches. Thanks. Let's open this up first of all to a wider time. Okay. So let's try it one more time. No, nothing there. Okay. So what we can do is we can look through here and look for the specific type of log. So it'll tell you not this one. We want to look at something that's like a process create, like this, and we're looking for where it tells us what we're looking for. Windows sysmon. We're looking for war like process create or something to that effect. Should be in here. So this is a process create. So here's the system IDs. So we could do that. I don't see what I'm looking for. So let's just do process, or not process ID. What was it? System event ID. And let's take a peek at what event IDs we have available. Not there. Maybe somewhere else. Windows system, event ID, event source name. Here we go. So we have 4624, that's authentication. One is process. We can look at Windows event log for scheduled tasks. So 4698 would be what we're looking for. And what we can say is, we can search this, and then we can adjust it up here to be 4698. And it's it's actually not in here. Okay, so let's see if any of these other ones are. So 4700, 4702. Nope. 4699, 129. 46. Not in here. Okay, lovely. All right, so this is going to make our job a little tougher. My guess is, let's go back to the dashboard and see if this actually gives us anything interesting. Modify registry, obfuscated file information. Yeah, I'm just looking around at the alerts to see if there's anything of interest here. Maybe we can look at the types of alerts and see if there's an interesting name, event, rule description. A lot of those. Let's look at this one. So remember 13 something was our time. So let's make sure they're in order. They are in order. Let's take a peek. So this is hostname. This is them just executing hostname. Command line is that. Parent command line. There's no parent command line. Interesting. Not sure why that is. Could be something that happens at boot up, but this makes things questionable. Um, Still not highly unusual to be done on startup. So I think what might be the problem with this is that I'm analyzing it like it's real attack, but it's atomic ray time that's being executed, which isn't. I guess it could be realistic, but not really. All right. So this is kind of a repeat of some of the same information. That's why they're saying it's suspicious. All right, here is something interesting. So this is new. So this is it. 5536.383. I'm downloading this file. And it's done at localhost. So don't know if this is what they're looking for us to use. Let's see. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. They're looking for something underscore something. So this is it. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing, and we just lost it. Did I find it again? We need to go back to our Monday monitor. All right. So what we're probably going to see is that this executing leads to a bunch of other stuff. So this is our person right here. PowerShell is executing it, and it's an invoke web request, and all it is doing is an out file. But I don't see it executing it. So let's look next. Same thing. Got it a couple different ways. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So I would have suspected that we would have seen something occur after this. So let's hone in here. Let's remove this. And we may be able to look at this process ID here, whatever this is. I want to see it as both the parent process ID and the actual process ID field. So we have two here. So we see it doing some, it's PowerShell thing, basically. It's just temporary files, it happens. So not anything necessarily suspicious. This is, for sure. But we don't see them actually execute it, which is interesting. So we're still looking for a scheduled task, so it should show up as a command line argument, if anything. So what we can do is narrow down to a event ID ones, which is here, which is okay. And what we're going to do is erase that time frame, or get rid of our search result, open up the time frame. We should see. All right, so this is where we're at, 1355. I'm going to jot that down in our notepad over here so I remember where we're at. So if you think about it from an attacker's perspective, the initial access was here, right? So we don't care about anything before. We care about everything after this point. So this is kind of where we start caring. Let's see. So here's a couple minutes after. Red team YAML. I don't know what's in here. Image is notepad. Looks like you just basically viewed that. All right, here's our scheduler. I think this might be what they're asking. Something slash something. Yeah, I mean, that kind of looks like it's kind of confusing because just the way they're doing it. I've actually never seen a scheduled task done in this way. If this is a thing, I'd be curious. Let's ask ChatGPT. Or actually, we can Google it. This actually doesn't really tell us it's in here. Interesting. All right. One of the things you should be doing when you're investigating is understand what the different commands do. I don't know what this does off the top of my head. So this specifies service group, running with higher level priority. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is legitimate how it's doing it. Cool. I did not know this was a thing. So this is why we learn stuff. That's interesting. It just looked weird to me and I saw the schedule. Now let's see if this is indeed the command. It is incorrect. Oh, we did the wrong one. Oops. We wanted this is what we wanted. Let's put it in Notepad and see if it lines up. That looks like it. Maybe there's a different command they're speaking on. Let's take a peek at the next one. All right, the next one. Let's notify. That's not our scheduled task. Notify. Notify. Off this one. That's interesting. Um, let's see if there's something goofy here. It does look like a file path somewhere in the middle there. Um, we don't see a actual time in there, so that's interesting, right? We don't see a time, so maybe that's not it. So let's just show the actual command line. If we can find it. quickly this way. And we're just looking through these, looking for start task. There's another one in the same type. Oh, excuse me. Hey, I'm rusty. I haven't done this in quite some time. Interesting. Um, so I just want to show you what a normal command would look like. So um, a CH tasks would be one. So we could look for that. New schedule task, if they're using PowerShell, we did see them using PowerShell, so that's a maybe. So they didn't use this, but they may have used. It should have picked up in our other query, I think. Looks like we have something goofy going on here. This may just be a bad search on my part. The bad search. What could happen is that that dash is picked up as a delimiter, or the way it's doing string searching. So, all right. So, yeah. So we still don't have the schedule task. We did see the new user account at one point. We did definitely saw nano dump running as a different tool. Let's see if we can't find the scheduled task though. This is driving me nuts. Because with it, we should be seeing a specific time frame. So it should be a relatively typical command, the way it's run, even though well, it could have been screwed here. Time frames, man, time frames. Right back. All right, back at it. So, schedule task. Let's see if this other one's in here. So there are two different ones. Last time we only saw the one. This is an account logged in successfully. Not what we're looking for. So let's go back to 13. I'd be curious of all the alerts they have, why. why they don't have one related to scheduled task, and there may be. It would be persistence, right? If we're thinking about the MITRE attack matrix, we will be looking for that. I mean, they could also use registry to do that. So let's look at maybe modifying registry, see if that gets us anywhere. Rule description. What kind of visualizing? This mess is. Yep, don't like that one. Revert. Um, discover. So this is just easier to look at for sure. Okay, our time frames in here. Oh, great. Okay, so we can kind of have a better time here. Windows task. Let's see if they have any different process ID, or not process ID, event IDs in here. And if I remember correctly, they were down here. Here. These are only ones. Why? Is that all we're filtering on? These are all ones. We can look at it via command line. So we see scheduler, install source scheduler. This isn't what we're looking for. We should see something where it's talking about specific time. And we're looking, and we don't frickin' see it. We see SC. See. If we have something else here, PowerShell API key. This might be one of the questions. What is it? Data was exfiltrated from the host. What's the flag that was part of the data? That's interesting. 1456. I do suspect that we'll find that data somewhere else or close to that anyways. Here's the one answer that we found before. So what was the name? This. What password was set for the new account? What was encoded? Schedule. We still have 2 questions on schedule tasks. This thing is driving me nuts. We haven't seen a password set for the user, but we do see pass the hash. In case you can't tell, whenever you see a hash that's being passed in, well, not this one, we saw it earlier, but whenever you see like a hash in a command with like Mimikatz or another tool similar to that, that's that means they're doing past the hack. Net user guest I am monitoring. That's probably our password. Yep. All right. So 4 questions left. Let's see if we can knock them out. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Here we go. So here's the SEH tasks command, and 1234 is um, command run to create a schedule task. This, this. Now let's see if we can just figure out what frickin' formatting they want. So this should be this one maybe. I think it starts with slashes, so they want the full one. All right, so that's it. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's take a short pause and chat about what we have going on here. So this is a schedule task command, and we can see a lot going on with it. It is atomic red team, great. So it's adding a registry key. Here is the actual schedule tasks portion. So we're creating a new one. We're naming it. Here's the command. And this is, it's having it pull from base 64. So it's good. So basically there's some base 64 stored here. And when it pulls it out, so it's basically order of operations like you learned in math class. It's going to convert it from that encoding, and then it's going to execute whatever it is, invoke expression. That's what you're seeing here. So pretty interesting, and it's going to run daily at 1234. So this is persistence, right? It's going to continue to run. Now, the thing we need to figure out is what was encoded. We don't know. So we need to figure out what was encoded, and we need to figure out what data was exfiltrated from the host. So we can probably find this in PowerShell logs. So if there's 4688s, or not 4688s, 4104, 4104 and 4103s, we should be able to find this because those are PowerShell logs, and we can see that it is utilizing PowerShell to do it. So what we could probably do is search for this. And we may have to escape it, but that's okay. And I am going to figure out how to get back to not security events. We want discovery. There we go. And we'll put this in quotes. And at some point, we should see it decode. So this looks like it's right here. It's adding this to the registry key. This should show up in the log somewhere decrypted, but we should be able to decrypt it ourselves as well with CyberChef. Great tool if you haven't used it. Has a lot of decoding type capabilities. Highly recommend it. And so we know this is from base 64. And bingo, we got our answer. So just a quick thing here. We knew this is base 64. Why? Because of the question mark here at the end in the character set that's used here. Because of that, we can just drop in from base 64 and it does all the work for us. If you don't know what type of encoding you have, there is something called magic that works decently. What you can see is if you have something that's readable, it'll show here, and then you know it's decoded properly. If it looks jumbled like this, we know that it didn't work correctly. So this isn't correct, but these are correct. So that's okay. Now, last thing, what data was exfiltrated from the host? What was the flag that was part of the data? So we still have to find data exfil. Yeah, I don't think we've come across that yet. So here's a dump file. This is where we know they're dumping LSAS. A lot of these won't work currently. So proc dump is another way to do dump LSAS, right? Yes. Um, here's all this stuff. So this is going back in time, I think. What order? So this is going down. We want to go up. This is 1501. We would expect the data exfil to happen after everything. We're looking in reverse order. Take a peek at this. This is kind of weird. Google update slash ping. Bizarre. Don't know if that is the exfil. It just looks weird. It would help if I could actually see what it was doing. I don't think that's our jam. Let's see what else we got going on here. We have some logs. And kind of me just scrolling through here and just pivoting quickly. This is something that comes with time. It's not something you do immediately. And what was throwing me off this whole time was the atomic ray team. I was like, what are they doing? This was atomic ray team. But yeah, I mean it's a good tool if you're looking to do automated testing of any sort. It's pretty solid for that. Outflank, cool. Got a lot of interesting stuff here. Pie cats. So they have quite a few things. That would be confusing to me. Pie cats could be used to dump credentials as well. So nano dump, we saw Mimi cats. Lots of things that could be used to dump credentials. So data expo. So let's look and see if they have event code 3s would be great. That creates anytime a process is created that connects outbound, we should get a event code 3. They're not super precise. You don't get them for everything, but they're not bad. Let's add this up here. What I do want to do is see if we have it as a result. So this is how I do it. If I don't know the syntax, I add it. And then I just modify it. So it may be in this one. It's going up. So this is the latest activity. That is a 1. So we don't really know, because this isn't a common, this isn't like a real attack chain. So it's tough for me to tell where they're at in terms of the attack chain, just looking at this stuff, right? We see proc dump, we see outflank, like we see a lot of repetitive activity that a normal attacker wouldn't do unless they're just having issues with a specific tool. 42, 43. So this is going the wrong way now. Let's. All right, so here we go. We're in the correct order. Here's PowerShell command. We do see, oh, here's the key. This is probably what they're talking about here. So this is them uploading stuff to a bin, I think, but I don't think anyone does that anymore. They really locked that down, so it's not a um, good one to use. So we completed another easy one. Congrats. I don't even know what joining the league means, but we earned 210 points. How about that? Yeah, it's something I do want to show. We don't have a ton of time. I think we have 40 minutes. We may be able to finish another one if I'm fast. There are specific syntax with this. You can see elastic variants have variations of different query languages. So, like, usually it's done by field. So if we look in here, it could be something like agent.ip equals, and this may not be it. I don't honestly know. Probably have to put this in quotes. It's usually something like this. So something's wrong with the language. There we go. So it uses colons instead of equal. Splunk uses equal. But yeah, you can type in specific fields that you're looking for and string together a whole query, which makes life easier, especially when you're doing a more complex type of thing. So if we wanted to, we could do look for John Sterling, where it contains this. We can use fuzzy logic. So like, let's copy this. Let me show you another example. So if we do this, we can do star, what was the guy's name? John dot Sterling. And say star, and it should use fuzzy logic and say anywhere this guy's name shows up in the middle, right? Anything to the left, anything to the right of it, show us. So we can see that is the case here. This is that past the hash I was talking about earlier, and you can see PTH right there. But you can see John Sterling and all these different ones. So that's cool, right? It gives us a lot of flexibility. I don't know how we combine commands in this. We can see real quick. Confidential. Probably not that. It was 2 ampersands. Or maybe it's just and. Okay, it didn't work. Let's see. EQL search syntax. We can look at it here. We can see here's that colon we found before. Here's or. We may need to do capital N. No, it should work there. Oh, interesting. Maybe it doesn't like that we're using a string after we did that. Could be. So we could say, and we could do something similar to what we did before. Now, I will say when you're doing this over a long time frame, this is very intensive. This is a no-no. because it will take forever. You'll use a lot of resources, um, and that's not good. So maybe we do it without quotes. No, looks like it just won't let us do a string after. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a peek at another one and see how far we can get. We got a badge. Yay. We can go ahead and terminate. Let's go back to our dashboard. Let's find another blue one since we're a blue team. That kind of is interesting. I have never done a Mac investigation. So that would be interesting. Actually, I haven't used Sentinel either. So that could be fun. Sure. I have a friend that actually really likes Sentinel. Oh, we can't utilize that. Womp womp. Wires cloud. And we won't play with cloud. Brains. Let's go. See what it says. We're going to brains challenge. All brains gathered. Blah blah blah. There's blue team. I don't know. Let's see if we can do it in time. There's only one question. What is the contents of flag and the user homes folder? This doesn't seem like a blue team. So in a few minutes, or in a minute, we'll get the IP address and we'll see. I like that this is moving visually. That's kind of cool. I wish I made some more visuals like that. If you're watching this after, feel free to drop some comments in what you would like to see next time, and we can definitely knock it out. This guy did it fast. Holy smokes. A lot of people stopped. If we don't get any points for doing this one. It was created almost a year ago. All right, we got our IP. Is this what? This is not blue team. What? This is red team, but it should be an easy one. Maybe. Let's see if we can do it real quick. Let's get it. I hate when I do that. So no ports up. Oh, that's because my command was wrong. We want to do a quick port scan here. We see 80 is open. Beautiful. SSH is open. I don't know what 50,000 is, but we'll find out. So let's pop over here and give it a whirl. Got some maintenance. Let's see if 50,000 is open. We're moving really fast, okay? May not, which is expected. Oh, interesting. There is something here. Okay. Because it does take 5 or 6 minutes to start up. Team city server components starting. What is that? Team TeamCity exploits, authentication bypass techniques. Great. And what we need, Rapid7 usually has really good guides on that. And what we want is a POC. So may get us in. This is the lab. This is them deploying it. Let's see. Let's look at what the Python script does. It logs in. Here's path to exploit this. Please refer to Rapid7's blog post. So we did get that up over here. It's an authentication bypass vulnerability. Let's see how it works. There's actually a Metasploit module on it. Great. Compromising seems to lost full control over. Okay, both vulnerabilities are authentic. So this means we don't need to be able to properly authenticate. We bypass that, which allows us to access the web server or the web application itself, which then may lead us to access the web server. In this case, it's an RCE, so we have the ability to execute arbitrary commands on the underlying system. This is full analysis. This is for nerds who actually want to go deep, deep down that rabbit hole. So here is to leverage this vulnerability to successfully call the authenticated endpoint. An unauthenticated attacker must satisfy the following three requirements during an HTTPS request. Request an authenticated resource that generates a 404. So something non-existent satisfies that. Pass an HTTP query parameter named JSP containing the value of an authenticated URI path. This can be achieved by appending in HTTP query string. Boom. Ensure the arbitrary URI path ends with .jsp. This can be achieved by appending an HTTP path parameter segment. So this is what it looks like all in all. Let's see. They're just doing a curl request to it, which may work. And then that triggers it, but we actually need to get to the RCE piece. So it looks like they're able to do it here with this post request, which is pretty nifty. And they can log right in. So let's see. Look at that. Sweet. So I'm trying to decide if we want to do this manually or if we want to utilize Metasploit. Yeah, let's do this. We have our curl request here. The only thing we'll have to do with this is just modify it for our specific endpoint. So our endpoint is here. So we need to update this to make sure we reference that. And that should satisfy the requirements. And what we can do now is drop it in here. Let's leave that up. See if this works. We may need to play around with formatting. 44 not found. This may be what's expected. or not. Might not have worked. We didn't even identify version, but I was just guessing. So we can try to log in. The password we set was, although I don't think it worked because we got a 404 here, not found. So we don't see the reaction that we thought we would see because they got a 200 back when they did it. So something's off. It could be that we're missing something in particular in our command. So we can look, make sure everything's closed off because that could be, there we go. So it looks like all these things should work. Uh, we can start Kali, or not Kali, Metasploit, see if it works. Um, so we do have this. So this is 2023. So let's see if they say which version it's for. Sure. Ours is 2023 11.3. So this is the exact one that's there, and we may, well, we're in a hurry now, but if we have time, we'll go back and um, play with it. So search Team City. Is this the correct one? It should be JetBrains, Team City, RCE, CVE. This one. So use 4, show options, set lhost to 0. 0. Okay, here we go. L port we can leave. Set our host. Our host needs to be this IP, and we also need to change the port. Tab complete works wonders. Set our port to, what do we say? 50,000. So we want to make sure everything looks good. SSL is false, no proxies. Sure, why not? See if it works. Target's vulnerable, creating authentication token. We have a session. So it worked, which means we may be done now, and we can play around with the manual exploit and see what we can get. There we go. So we are in it. This is a Windows system, or not, slash home. So this is our flag here, and we'll knock this out. And boom, record time. I don't know how long that took. 13 minutes. I'll take it. We cheated though. All right, so let's get this to work. I think it's just probably a syntactical error, which is fine. Like, yeah, let's go through theirs and play with it and see if we can't get it. So let's get down to the content where they start talking about how to do it. So we could just try straight up curling. We should get a 200 here. And we just need to modify this. So this is where troubleshooting comes in handy, right? We need to understand why our stuff is breaking, and we need the ability to be able to fix it. We're going to stumble all along the way until we get it. So this isn't even coming back as normal. There's something goofy going on with it. Um, hmm. So we got HTTP said it needed to be non-existent. And what we were expecting to get back was a 200. Let's just see if our other password worked, and it just didn't give us what we expected. Yeah, it did. Okay. So yeah, we are indeed having an issue here. But the Metasploit module worked. So it's interesting. We could look at the Metasploit module and reverse engineer it. Is something that works? So if we can find it, that may be the easiest way, even though we're looking at the blog. Here we go. Yep, that's exactly what we want. So what we want to do is scroll down here. And look to see what they have going on. And we want to find the area where the exploit is built. So here's our URI path. App res users ID. So this might be what we're looking for here. Let's check. Send auth bypass request CGI. So what I'm doing is just analyzing this, trying to get an understanding of what's going on. It's late. My brain's been working all day, but it's okay. It's okay. So we are sending a post request here. Admin, plugin, upload. So I think that this may not be the section for the actual exploit. I don't see, well, easily. I see where we may have to build some stuff. So user password, here's the data, user password name, fake name, email, role. This is all done. So this is a Ruby script in case you're not familiar with Metasploit and the underlying language set. So these are pretty familiar, right? If we look at our code here, we see the same bits of information. So this is all in the data section. So here, so at our username, we have password, we have email, we don't have name, we have roles. They didn't add name in here. Normal name, roles, role, and then in role, we have the role ID. I think the issue is maybe these maybe the parameters we're passing in aren't the appropriate format. Because saying non-existent, let's see, 15 minutes to figure this out. No pressure. Combining the above requirements becomes this. We did curl. That's pretty much what we did. I wonder if we're just running into issues. Non-printable character issues, but I don't think so. Well, you know what else I could have? Could have an issue where I'm actually looking at the thing. So let's just double check. 1010 12215. So that looks exactly the same. Yet, I bet we don't get the response we expect. So we're getting a 404. That means it's not found. Question is why? Wonder if it'll make a difference if we do it in the actual browser instead. Could. Um, because it's just a curl. We're just doing a GET request. So it works. Okay. So we're actually having an issue with the format of the query. So curl is not formatted right for whatever reason. So let's look at that. So I wonder why. And it may be because we need to hex encode stuff, although, or just escape. Um, these items here. Bingo. That's exactly what it was. We needed to escape. Okay, so let's try this again. And the crappy part is there's so much in here we have to escape in this one. So we'll try it a little at a time until we get a resolution. So so anything that could be specially interpreted by a shell. Oh, that worked. So it's just literally those two things. Beautiful. Okay. So now we should just be able to log in like this. And we did. Okay. There you go. That happens all the time. What I was going to do was load up a different tool. So load up a transparent proxy and send that command and then change it to a post request. And that way all of our information would get sent and I wouldn't have to worry about interpretation. But anytime you're running something from the command line, you have to be cognizant of special characters. So this is a terminal for Linux. So question marks and colons are special characters, and I should have picked that up. So colons typically tell you that I don't know what they mean in this. I was going to say they say that there's another command going, but that's PowerShell mixing up. Um, let's ask special characters. Let's see. So this is question marks a wildcard, and don't see our semicolon. Although I'm positive it's one. And separator. Okay, no, it does the same thing then. So you just have to be cognizant of that. That's why a lot of times you'll see people using coding so that they don't have to worry about things being interpreted. That's especially true for just web stuff in general. You have to encode commands, parts of your command, especially if you're doing like RCE or something through that, like doing remote commands to the underlying system. You just have to pay attention to how they're going because what you're typing in may not be the thing that actually runs because it's basically think of it as um, different filters along the way, right? It's got to go through the bash filter, make it through that. So any special characters have to be rendered, any order of operations have to be followed. Then it gets to the actual website where things get filtered as well in terms of orders of operation, whatever the request has to be fulfilled, and it reads the command. And then after it gets through that, then you have um, then it fulfills your actual request. If it then has to pass through the web application, right? We're doing RCE. Then once it gets to the web application, it's now going to the terminal on the other side, so the underlying operating system and running, which then can also interpret special characters as well. So there's this whole chain of activities occurring. You just have to understand what the data looks like at each stage so you can make sure it's formatted correctly for execution. So this is one of the most difficult things to learn in penetration testing, um, and you just need to pay attention to it. And this is also one of the biggest problems with web shells in general is that they're very fragile because of all those different layers. So a lot of times you'll see once people get a foothold, like their initial access, they'll immediately pivot to a better, more stable shell and just use the web shell as a backup shell in case they lose their other one. So just keep that in mind. All right, so I think that's it for hacking. Apparently, this was a premium room. Great. Let's see. Let's take a peek at our account. Look at that. We're climbing up. I have no clue how many points I have. I have 3 badges though. Here's my rank. Can I say I'm in the top 10% like everyone else on LinkedIn? That used to be the jam. I don't know if people do that anymore. Still way behind my buddy. He must have just like crushed it. I'm a dox him. He's a legend. Jeez. He did a lot. Let's see how many badges he has. He didn't have that many. We're gonna get more badges than him. That's what we're gonna do. He's top 1%. Jeez, crushing it. Does he have any certificates? Nope. He did complete the blue team bath back in 2021. He done anything this year? He has been doing stuff this year. Go ahead with your bad self. Man, he just like crushed it mid-year, all over the place, sparingly, did a lot of work. Man, such a loser. It's okay. I don't know how I got a 500-day streak one, but whatever. All right, so next one is going to be Thursday. Thursday, I think we'll have a special guest where we will see what she wants to do and we'll work through that. I think she's been leaning into forensics a lot, but she's also been doing some offensive security. She is at a relatively beginner level. Not relatively, she is at a beginner level, but it'll be great. We'll have a lot of fun. We get to do stuff from a learner's perspective, which I imagine a lot of you are. Maybe even AJ will join us. Who knows? But I will say that that is it for this evening. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching it if you're watching after the fact. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. See ya.